This video is sponsored by Audible. For a free audiobook, visit audible.com/asx. In the Game of Thrones show, the Three-Eyed Raven is a pretty standard character. He's like Obi-Wan or Dumbledore, a wise old mentor who teaches a hero magic and then dies. But in the books, he has a rich backstory. He was a warrior who fought his brothers, a spy master who ruled a kingdom, and a leader of the Night's Watch, who becomes one of the most powerful and mysterious characters in the series. His grand plan involves the Old Gods and Azor Ahai, Bran Stark and Jon Snow, maybe Daenerys and Quaithe, and even Euron Greyjoy. In the books, he's called the Three-Eyed Crow, but his real name is Brynden Rivers. Brynden was born 125 years ago. The king of Westeros back then was Aegon IV Targaryen, a terrible, selfish, lustful king. He was married to his sister, Nerys, because the Targaryens love incest, and they had a son called Daeron. But Aegon took many other women as lovers and fathered bastard children, including Daemon Waters, Aegor Rivers, Shiera Seastar, and Brynden Rivers, the man who would become the Three-Eyed Crow. Brynden was an albino, with pale skin, white hair, and red eyes. He had a wine-stained birthmark on his face that was shaped kind of like a raven, so Brynden was called Bloodraven. Brynden wasn't as big and strong as his half-brothers, but he was smart and good with a longbow. Brynden's half-sister Shiera was famously beautiful, and Brynden and Aegor competed for her love. Shiera chose Brynden as her lover, but Brynden and Aegor came to hate each other. Aegor was called Bittersteel. Daemon, meanwhile, was a golden boy who everyone loved, which complicated politics, because when King Aegon died, his true-born son, Daeron, inherited the throne, but some people preferred Daemon. So with the help of Bittersteel, Daemon rebelled. He took the name Blackfyre and fought a war against Daeron for the throne. This was the first Blackfyre rebellion, and it ended at the Battle of the Redgrass Field. Brynden fought for Daeron and the Loyalists. He rained arrows on the Blackfyres, killing Daemon and two of his sons. Then Bittersteel attacked and fought a duel with Brynden. Brynden lost an eye in this fight, but in the end, Aegor fled. So Brynden helped to save the realm from Blackfyre rebels, but to do it, he killed his own half-brother Daemon. Kinslaying is a terrible crime in Westeros. But Brynden is willing to do bad things for the sake of the greater good, and for the sake of defeating Bittersteel. Bittersteel went east, founded an army called the Golden Company, and plotted with the surviving Blackfyres. King Daeron later died in a plague, so Daeron's son Aerys became the new king. But Aerys wasn't much interested in being king. He was obsessed with old books about magic and prophecy. So Aerys chose Brynden to be his hand of the king, and Brynden basically ruled the realm for him. Brynden was a spy master with a huge network of informers. It was said that Bloodraven had 1,000 eyes and one, the one eye on his face and the 1,000 eyes of his spies. Brynden watched for anyone who spoke treason against the Targaryens or supported the surviving Blackfyres. He was so focused on the Blackfyres that he ignored an Ironborn invasion, and the realm also suffered from drought and other problems. So many people hated Bloodraven. They called him a kinslayer, a bastard, and a sorcerer, because like Aerys, Brynden was known to study magic. It was said that he and his lover Shiera used sorcery to uncover secrets, and that Brynden could change his face or his shape, which might actually be true. In a Game of Thrones prequel book, Daemon Blackfyre's son tries to start a second Blackfyre rebellion, but Bloodraven's spies uncover the plot with the help of a really suspicious guy called Maynard Plumm. Plumm knows too much. He makes weird references to Bloodraven, and there's something strange about his face. Plumm disappears from the story just before Bloodraven arrives, so it's strongly hinted that Maynard Plumm is actually Bloodraven in disguise. Plumm wears a moonstone brooch, which suggests that Bloodraven uses a glamour, the same kind of magic that Melisandre uses with her ruby. So there's truth to these rumors. Bloodraven uses magic to spy and control the kingdom. Years later, there was a third Blackfyre rebellion, where Brynden beat Bittersteel again, and after that, King Aerys died, and his brother Mycah became king. Then when Mycah died, there was a succession problem, because most of Mycah's children were dead or dumb or female. So Bloodraven called a big meeting to decide who should be the next king. He even invited a surviving Blackfyre to the council. Bloodraven pinky promised that he totally wouldn't kill the Blackfire when he arrived, and when he arrived, Bloodraven totally killed him. The council chose Aegon V Targaryen, or Egg, to be the next king, and the first thing King Egg did was to arrest Bloodraven. Because if the Hand of the King goes around killing people he promised not to kill, people would stop trusting the government. Brynden argued that he had sacrificed his own honor for the good of the realm, but still, he had to be punished. So he was sent to join the Night's Watch on the Wall. Maester Aemon joined the Watch at the same time. Brynden eventually became Lord Commander of the Watch and led them for years, until one day he went off for a ciggy and never came back, presumed dead beyond the Wall. The next time we see Brynden is 50 years later, when Bran meets him as the Three-Eyed Crow. So, what happened? How did this Targaryen bastard become an ancient tree wizard? And what does he want? Magic in Game of Thrones is connected to family heritage, or blood. The Targaryen family with the blood of Valyria are connected to dragons and fire magic. The Stark family with the blood of the First Men are connected to the Old Gods, weirwood trees, and warging magic. Bloodraven is special because he has the blood of both Valyria and the First Men. His father is a Targaryen, and his mother is a Blackwood. The Blackwood family descend from the First Men, and the heraldry is a weirwood tree, a symbol of the Old Gods. It's hinted that Brynden was into the Old Gods from early on. His longbow at the Redgrass Field was made of weirwood. Brynden's pale skin and red eyes look just like a weirwood's face, with white bark and red sap eyes. And the rumors that Brynden could transform into a dog and control wolves and spy with crows sounds just like skin-changing powers, like how Bran walks into animals. Maybe young Brynden could do that too. He might also have had green dreams, visions of the future like Jojen has. And at the Night's Watch, Brynden might have seen the threat of the White Walkers. So, Brynden was drawn north, beyond the Wall, to a cave beneath a great weirwood tree. Brynden merged with the weirwood, its roots growing through his body, extending his life and heightening his power as a greenseer, which means he skin changes into animals, sees through the eyes of trees, and has visions of future and past. Brynden sat dreaming, watching, and scheming for 50 years, waiting for Bran Stark. Apparently, Bran has a special destiny as a greenseer like Brynden. So Brynden visits Bran in dreams in the form of a three-eyed crow and tells him to fly, to wake his magic, and he sends Jojen to take Bran north. Brynden says Bran is important for the war against the White Walkers, and it looks like he's right. In the show, Bran uses his powers to spy on the Walkers with ravens, and he has psychic contact with the Night King. It looks like Brynden succeeds in empowering Bran to fight for life against the Night, but Brynden's influence goes much deeper. When Jon Snow joins the Night's Watch, Lord Commander Mormont has a pet raven, and the raven speaks, usually just repeating words that it hears, but sometimes it seems to understand what's happening and influences the story. When the Watch elects a new Lord Commander, the raven says snow, 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 and lands on Jon's shoulder, which helps get Jon chosen as leader. The bird often says king around Jon. In Book 5, it says King Snow, Jon Snow. And just before that, the raven appears in a dream Jon has, where he fights dead men with a burning sword. So, what's happening here? Many readers believe that this raven is controlled from afar by Bloodraven. We do know that he uses birds to spy and enter dreams, so he's probably using this bird to spy on the Night's Watch and to influence Jon. Brynden not only helps Jon lead the Night's Watch, it looks like he wants Jon to be the king of Westeros, which might be why in Season 6 Brynden shows Bran Jon's birth. As the son of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen, Jon is the heir to the Iron Throne, and he has the blood of both the First Men and Valyria, like Bloodraven. This dream of the dead and a burning sword sounds like Azor Ahai, a hero prophesied to save the world from darkness. Brynden's interest in this prophecy might come from his Targaryen side, because as Brynden says, there have always been Targaryens who dreamed of things to come, who had visions of the future, and many Targaryens are especially interested in the prophecy of Azor Ahai. Rhaegar was into this prophecy. It might have been why he ran off with Lyanna and fathered Jon. Rhaegar's parents Aerys and Rhaella got married because a witch said that Azor Ahai would be born of their line. Aemon was into this prophecy, and Brynden served with Aemon on the Wall for 19 years. King Aerys was into prophecy, and Shiera was into ancient scrolls. So much of Bryndon's family was into prophecy, especially Azor Ahai, so it seems likely that Bryndon was also into this stuff. With all of his wisdom and visions as a Targaryen and a Greenseer, Bryndon must have worked out that Jon is probably Azor Ahai, and this explains why Bryndon helps him. In fact, it might explain a lot of what Bryndon does. Judging by Aerys and Rhaegar's marriages, it seems that a particular Targaryen bloodline is expected to produce Azor Ahai. Maybe the reason why Bryndon was so focused on stopping the Blackfyres wasn't just politics or beef with Bittersteel, it was Bryndon trying to protect the special bloodline that he believed led to the hero who'd save the world. This might have been why King Aerys refused to have children, why Egg was chosen as king, even why Egg married a Blackwood with the blood of the first men. This might all have been Bloodraven's influence, guiding the Targaryens on a 100-year Bene Gesseritine eugenic quest to breed Azor Ahai. There's no knowing how deep this goes, but at the very least, it looks like Bryndon helps Jon because he believes that Jon is the hero Westeros needs, the rightful king, Azor Ahai, the hero who'll save the world, with the help of the Greenseer Bran. Bryndon is combining the power of the Targaryens and the Old Gods, fire and ice, to save the world from the long night. But what about Daenerys? Daenerys obviously has a big part to play in the Song of Ice and Fire. Like Jon, she's a Targaryen who could fit the prophecy of Azor Ahai and is making a claim on the Iron Throne, so why doesn't Bryndon help her? Dany spends most of the series in the east, across the Narrow Sea, which might be Bryndon's blind spot. The magic of Greensight seems limited to the lands where weirwoods grow, so Bryndon might not know that this distant Dragon Queen is legit. Or maybe Bryndon's already got someone on the job. In Book and Season 2, Daenerys meets Quaithe, a mysterious masked woman who visits Dany in dreams and gives her cryptic advice. There's a theory that Quaithe is actually Bryndon's sister lover, Shiera Seastar. Both these characters are mysterious magical women associated with stars. And of course, Shiera was born 100 years ago, so like Bryndon, she'd need some magic to keep her alive. And as it happens, both Shiera and her mother are said to use magic to preserve their beauty. Maybe Shiera uses magic to extend her life as Quaithe, and the mask Quaithe wears might hide Shiera's famous beauty. So there's no strong evidence here, but it would be super cool if Quaithe is Shiera. After all these years, still working with Bryndon, using sorcery to spy and influence, just as they did in King's Landing, but now at a greater scale. Bryndon watches Jon and Bran in the west, while Shiera watches Dany in the east, the world of ice and fire guided by the most magical and incestuous power couple in the series. Bryndon's influence could really be godlike. He can enter dreams, see through trees, control animals. So it's possible that Bryndon sent these direwolf pups to keep an eye on the Starks. He might have sent the boar that killed King Robert and that bear Tormund fucked. The weirwood dream that led Jaime to Brienne, Beric's magic in that weirwood cave, the ghost of Highheart, Cold Hands and Sam, and Jormun's horn. There are a million little ways that Bryndon might influence the story, as well as through Dany and Bran and Jon and the last 100 years of Targaryen monarchy. Bryndon is the Westerosi Illuminati, pulling the strings, controlling everything, and it's all towards the goal of saving the world. So Bryndon's a hero, a good guy, right? Bloodraven is a spooky motherfucker. He looks like a corpse, a ghastly statue of twisted wood, old bone, and rotted wool, living in a dark cave that is literally littered with skulls. He hangs out with a corpse man and some creepy forest elves. He tells Bran to never fear the darkness. Darkness will make you strong. He often sounds more like the Emperor than like Obi-Wan. So if it looks like a bad guy and quacks like a bad guy, is Bloodraven a bad guy? There are theories that he's secretly evil, like maybe Bryndon only wants Bran because Bryndon's old body is dying and he plans to steal Bran's young body. Magic body snatching is a thing in Book 5. Others think that Bryndon is secretly helping the White Walkers wipe out humanity. Melisandre does have a vision of Bryndon where she thinks he's with the evil Great Other, and there is the possibility that Bryndon is manipulated by the Children of the Forest and their psychic weirwood hive mind. Author George Martin has written stories about evil, seductive alien hive minds. But what we've seen in the text suggests that Bryndon is something more interesting than a bad guy. He's a guy who does bad things for good reasons. He kills his half-brother to end a war. He lies and betrays to keep the peace. He spies, assassinates, manipulates, all for the sake of the realm. So Bryndon's not straight-up evil. He's something almost scarier. A man who gets good outcomes at any cost. Like, with Bran, Bryndon empowers a hero to save the world, sure, but he also lures a crippled 8-year-old boy on a long, dangerous journey that kills his friends to change Bran into something that he never wanted to become. Bran comes north hoping that Bryndon would be a nice wizard who'd fix his legs. He never signed up to become a tree boy, but by the time he arrives, he hardly has a choice. Bryndon manipulates Bran. At one point, he magically edits Bran's memories so that he forgets Jaime crippling him. Bryndon's agent Cold Hands secretly feeds Bran human flesh, and possibly also the dead body of Jojen. Go watch that video. Also, in the show, a side effect of Bran's power is that he becomes robotic and dehumanized. Mira says it's like Bran died. So yeah, Bryndon does terrible things, but what makes him an interesting character is that he does these bad things for good reasons. He's trying to save the world. Game of Thrones often explores this idea of ends justifying means. When Stannis considers killing a child to win the realm, he asks, what is the life of one boy against a kingdom? And Davos says, everything. If we sacrifice our basic humanity and compassion, what kind of world are we even saving? Bryndon's extreme means may lead to unforeseen consequences. In Bran's dream in Book 1, Bran falls towards spikes of ice, and Bryndon tells Bran to fly or die to force him to wake his magic. Bran succeeds and flies over the spikes, but he sees the bones of 1,000 other dreamers impaled below, which might suggest that Bryndon has tried to teach magic to other people this way. He has been sitting in his cave for 50 years, maybe in that time he's tried other students, and one theory suggests that Bryndon taught Euron Greyjoy. Euron in the books is a mystical, scary figure. His ship is crewed by mutes, the deck painted red to hide the blood. He has a magic horn called Dragonbinder, and he captures and tortures priests, warlocks, and pregnant women. He's planning a mass blood sacrifice to transform himself into a Lovecraftian god. These are the last days, he says, when the world shall be broken and remade. A new god shall be born from the graves and charnel pits. The inspiration for this horrific apocalypse might inadvertently come from Bloodraven, because there are hints of a connection between Euron and Bryndon. Euron calls himself the Crow's Eye, and his banner is a single red eye crowned by crows, which might refer to the single red eye of Bryndon, the three-eyed crow. In Book 4, Euron says that when he was a boy, he dreamed that he could fly, that if he just tries, if he leaps from a tower, he might fly. And this is just what happens to Bran. He falls from a tower, and Bryndon visits his dream and tells him to try to fly. So maybe Bryndon had seen magic potential in young Euron, and made contact, hoping to train him as a Greenseer. But when he entered Euron's dream and flung the boy at psychic ice spikes, something went wrong, and Euron went rogue. Maybe seeing the Heart of Winter staring deep into the void broke Euron's mind somehow. Maybe seeing the threat of the Walkers only inspired Euron to bring the Long Night. Maybe this tantalizing taste of arcane power led to Euron's obsession with collecting magic artifacts, warlocks, priests, crowns, and exploiting them to bring about his apotheosis. In the next book, Euron is set to bring some serious grimdark shit on Westeros, and this might not have happened if it weren't for Bloodraven being so single-minded in his goals that he goes round psychically traumatizing random children. You can make a similar argument about Bryndon's political career. His harsh control of Westeros may have just fed more discontent and rebellion. So you can see Bloodraven's character as a criticism of the idea of ends justifying means. Maybe if we forget compassion and caution, we may only create more darkness. A lot of Bloodraven's early history is told in the Dunk and Egg prequel stories, collected in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. It tells the story of the Blackfire conspiracy uncovered by Bloodraven and Maynard Plumm, plotting and scheming and talking smack 100 years before the main series. The Dunk and Egg stories are short, self-contained tales of Westeros that take just a few hours to hear on audiobook. You can listen to all of these stories now for free with a 30-day trial at Audible. Membership gives you a free audiobook each month, and even if you cancel, you keep the books. To sign up, visit audible.com/ASX or text ASX to 500 500. Thank you to these artists. Links to their work are below. And check out Paul Quentin, who writes brilliant analysis of Euron's eldritch apocalypse. Thank you to the patrons, including Amelie Ruppert, Greg Leask, Kenny Arnold, and Nobly Knows. Cheers.